Good evening, short story writers. Tonight we are going to be quick because I'm going to just wrap up what I was talking about yesterday, which is basically that think about story writing like this. There has to be a problem. The problem is the story, right? So if there's a problem, then the protagonist is looking for a solution. That is the end of your story. And your story has to contain 3 attempts to overcome the problem. 2 of them are unsuccessful. The third one's a bit do or die for a really dramatic story. And the outcome is that the protagonist usually wins or is so defeated that it's a kind of a mutually destructive sort of situation in the more dramatic stories. But that's it basically. Problem, which is the story, and the 3 attempts to get rid of the problem, and the solution, which is living happily ever after, if you want to put in those terms. That really is all any story is about. You can apply it to Cinderella, you can apply it to The Shawshank Redemption, you can apply it to any story. Pick any story which is memorable. Let's pick one. The one that usually put as a kind of an exercise in a lot of books and on a lot of courses is A Christmas Carol. So you got Scrooge at the beginning. He just wants to be left alone and to celebrate Christmas in his own way. People arrive. He's got the equivalent of the 3 ghosts in real life in the form of his nephew, the 2 gentlemen collecting subs, and then Bob Cratchit. Then there's a supernatural kind of parallel with those, with Jacob Marley's ghost turning up and then the 3 ghosts. And at first he rails against them, but they get to him and they find the element of humanity which Dickens felt would be in somebody like Scrooge, and it unravels within him. And in the end, he realizes that it's not specifically said, but he feels so sorry for Tiny Tim that he wants to do something about it. And he sees a little bit of Tiny Tim in himself, but without the loving father. He didn't have a loving father. He felt that life had done him bad. So he's being shown that life wasn't so bad after all. And then at the end, Scrooge, actually, for all his railing, he's destroyed. Scrooge, that man is destroyed at the end, and he becomes this new person. So he wanted to overcome the problem, and he does. But the problem by he's cynical. He's sarcastic. He's cynical and snarky, and then he realizes that he's shown that his life wasn't so bad, and then he is shown the consequences of continuing. But he by then he's convinced he's sold anyway. But he basically his nose is rubbed in it. So in that kind of conflict, basically the hero has died. Real death of the hero, and is kind of reborn as the new Scrooge. So, but his problem is twofold. It's Christmas, and it's also himself. He has become this embittered person in a shell, and he doesn't want to break that shell at all. And the ghosts of Christmas present and Christmas future and Christmas past, I suppose, because she shows him his childhood, where he, as an outsider, feels even more sorry for himself than he had done as a child. As a child, he'd reacted to that by becoming this kind of bitter person, but as an outsider, he and Tiny Tim are kind of mapped onto each other. So that's an example of a story where the hero dies. A story of a much lesser problem is Shirley Valentine. If you've not seen it or read it, I'd heartily recommend seeing the play rather than the film, but the film's great as well. A little less true to the stage play. They're both totally hilarious. Well, they were last time I saw them. And humour doesn't always stand up to the test of time. But her problem is that she's bored, she feels invisible, and she's never lived. And her solution is to accept a holiday. And she's got this little dream, and she makes the dream come true and decides that, in fact, it's not time to go home. She wants into this, so she becomes this kind of wanting to live this student lifestyle, or backpackers lifestyle, whatever lifestyle it is. And is she defeated? No, she's transformed by her experiences, but she knows it. She has to go home, and her adversary is not herself. Her adversary, the things that she has to overcome, are the bad thoughts of people. It's much lower key. The conflict is much lower. It's people not realizing that she has these aspirations and they want to keep her in her place. And she breaks free, and then the second half of the film or play comes to terms. She's coming to terms with the new person that she is. So she's sort of her own adversary, but she's happy with who she's become. And then she's got to deal with her new surroundings, and also her husband coming to collect her, and convincing him. So her problem again was the story. She wanted to live a bigger life. Okay, 6:42. I'll probably return to this because essentially storytelling is the story of somebody having a problem and overcoming it. I know I say that a lot. Once that's home, storytelling becomes the inspiration part's gone. As Beethoven said, the 99% of perspiration remains, but that at least is something which it's much more mechanical. All right, thanks for your time, and I will see you tomorrow. Happy story writing.